This topic is Detente. It's the last one in the unit of Cold War 1945 to 72 in AQA history. Well, the last topic was on the Prague Spring, and the Brezhnev Doctrine talked about the fact that communist countries could not change their communism. One unintended consequence of this was that China saw this as a threat to its own different view of what communism should be like. And this was part of a process whereby China and the Soviet Union were beginning to drift apart. And America saw this as an opportunity to be able to, as it were, mend fences both with the USSR and with China. And this made sense because America was stuck in a war in Vietnam that was not winning, and it needed to reduce its expenditure on the arms race, which is costly. And the Soviet Union was in a similar situation. It was becoming too expensive to do the arms race. As a result, what we find is that all three countries, USA, USSR, and China, wanted to find a more peaceful way of coexisting. In the case of China, America proposed that China should be readmitted into the United Nations and diplomatic relations should be normalized. With the Soviet Union, there was an increase in cooperation, including in space, where American and Soviet astronauts met up in space and had a famous handshake. Supposed to be over Bognor Regis, where I was brought up, but in fact, I think it was somewhere else in the end. The other things that were done during this time was the strategic arms limitation talks, SALT 1, where it was for the first time decided to limit the number of missiles each side had and the number of anti-ballistic missiles each side had. All these things were progress. There was even progress in the area of human rights, where the Soviets signed an agreement to respect human rights, though in many ways that was never really actioned by the Soviet Union. But these things all showed there was a way forward. This didn't last because of the Afghanistan war, but ultimately, as we know, in 1989, the entire Soviet system collapsed, and we have the end of history as we know it. It wasn't really the end of history as we know it, because the human heart, unfortunately, is not so easily tamed, and history has continued since then. Well, thank you.